The Ruthless Aggression era created some of the biggest stars in WWE history. John Cena, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Batista, Brock Lesnar, the list goes on and on. And while there are certainly several men and women who did thrive during this period, we had to go through a lot of crap to get there. So much crap. I can recite from memory just about every wrestler who stepped into a WWF ring during the Attitude Era, jobbers and all, and I can identify nearly every man and woman in this new era. But for the life of me, there are dozens of people who wrestled from around 2002 to 2008 who might as well have been ghosts. Whether it was for a blink of an eye or well over a year, so many people came and went through the company, you could have taken all those people and made a brand new promotion with them. And quite honestly, there are so many of these names, there's no way I could fit them all into a single top 8, not even 2 top 8s. So on this Thanksgiving week, folks, prepare to indulge yourself in a feast of faceless J-Brones that even the WWE Encyclopedia would have a hard time recalling. I'm gonna rank them the top 24 most forgettable Ruthless Aggression wrestlers. Number 24, Braden Walker. By the mid to late 2000s, TNA was in the midst of what some would say were its best years, so when a star from the Impact Zone went to Stanford, it was a big deal. In January of 2008, Chris Harris was released by TNA. He was scooped up by WWE just weeks later in what many fans thought would be a major coup. Harris was one half of America's Most Wanted, one of the best tag teams on the scene at that time, so conceivably he could have done very well for himself. But alas, cold hard reality came on knocking.
Knock knock. Who's there? Braden Walker, and I'm gonna knock your brains out.
On July 8th of that year, Braden Walker was introduced on the ECW brand and thus bore an endless torrent of internet jokes. Harris was depressingly out of shape and slapped with the lame gimmick of bleh, appeared on TV only twice and was released 1 month after his debut. Back in TNA, his former partner James Storm would do well for himself as one half of Beer Money. Sorry about your damn luck, Braden. Number 23, Jesus. By 2004, John Cena was on the fast track to becoming the company's next big star. He'd held the US Championship for the better part of that year, and he was slated to star in the company's next big film project, The Marine. John was a busy man and needed time off from the road, so he needed some divine intervention from Jesus. 1 week after dropping the title to a debuting Carlito, Cena was written off TV to film the movie. The story was he was stabbed in the kidney outside of a Boston nightclub. The assailant was revealed to be Carlito's new bodyguard, Jesus. But Cena made a miraculous recovery after his kidney stabbing, returning 1 month after he was written off to quickly vanquish Mr. Cool. Jesus was squashed by Cena in a street fight for the championship at Armageddon, and that was it for the man in the very high pants. Number 22, Sylvester Terkay. Speaking of sidekicks, every great character in wrestling has to start somewhere. The Pope is one of the most charismatic individuals in wrestling today, but 10 years ago, he was just Elijah Burke, the corner man for this next entry. Sylvester Terkay debuted for the SmackDown brand in the summer of 2006, working a gimmick that reflected his MMA and kickboxing background. He actually had a decent win-loss record in the singles matches, and as a tag team with Burke. He even had a killer muscle buster. But despite all that, the man-bear wasn't long for the company. In the midst of he and Burke's winning ways, he was inexplicably released from WWE in January of 2007. So it's kind of a lame way to go out in the company, but hey Sylvester, you did make this list, so winner winner, Terkay dinner. Number 21. Palmer Cannon. Though the sample size of network representatives in wrestling is admittedly pretty small, there's only one man in history that made it work, and that was Cyrus in the original ECW. Palmer Cannon, on the other hand, did not work. Wrestler Brian Black debuted on SmackDown in August of 2005 as Palmer Cannon, who was meant to represent UPN. A pseudo right-to-censor member, Cannon would often make executive decisions with a family-friendly tone, much to the chagrin of fans. And if it wasn't obvious enough that this character was an attack on the oppressiveness of UPN, his initials were PC. As a fake authority figure, Cannon brought fans the Juniors division, the Dicks, and the Boogeyman. Hell of a track record. In April of 2006, Cannon quit WWE in the middle of a European tour, citing hazing and harassment from JBL and Chris Benoit. At the time, he was in the midst of a feud with a soon-to-debut Mike Mizanin, but Palmer's resignation delayed The Miz's impending in-ring debut. Curse you, Palmer, for depriving us of The Miz for a little bit longer! Number 20. The Highlanders. For a lot of the time, the Ruthless Aggression era was actually pretty rich with tag teams. Just too bad a lot of them were crap. Or in this case, crap! In June of 2006, WWE fans were introduced to the Highlanders, a pair of Scottish wrestlers with a fish-out-of-water gimmick. But wait, how can they be the Highlanders? I thought there could only be one. Rory and Robbie were meant to be similar to the Bushwhackers in that they both acted like dolts and lost to much more competent teams. In an ironic twist, the biggest highlight for this team didn't take place on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, but on Impact.
Many stars from the sports, from the entertainment world on hand here tonight at Thursday Night Impact.
That's Robbie spotted on the hard cam during an episode of Impact in March of 2008. Back in WWE, the team was richly rewarded for that cameo appearance by never winning another match before they were both released from the company that August. Number 19, the Heartthrobs and The Dicks. I'm putting these two teams into one entry because they were essentially the same thing, a couple of chiseled, oiled-up dudes who came off as God's gift to women. On SmackDown, Dicks, James, and Chad debuted in October of 2005. They scored an impressive first win against Animal and Heinrich, but that and a couple hundred dick puns was about the only moment of glory they ever got before being released 4 months later. Meanwhile on Raw, Antonio and Romeo, the Heartthrobs, were given a bit more of a fair shake, but not by much. These guys were a tag team that was made up of the worst elements from Too Much, Billy and Chuck, and MDMA. These two saw a lot of action in 05, winning a good amount of matches on Sunday Night Heat. They got an absurd amount of promo time considering how bad they were at them, but they were never given a decent push toward the tag team titles. They were released around the same time as the Dicks in February of 2006. But they did get a chance in TNA working as the Heartbreakers and working a program with the Voodoo Kin Mafia. They were swiftly defeated and never seen from again. So there's that. Number 18, Gymini. One more tag team in today's countdown. Gymini debuted in January of 06 as the muscle for fitness guru Simon Dean. Formerly known as the Shane Twins, these two, well, were a pair of Haas twins. They had a good look, and there were two of them. What's not to love? Even though they racked up a lot of wins, it was always against lesser tag teams. To give you an idea of just how little of a crap the company gave about these guys, the Twins didn't even have first names until 3 months into their run. They eventually moved back down to the Developmental League of Deep South Wrestling until the Twins were released 1 year after their debut. But as forgettable as that run was, it was paradise compared to when they wrestled as a couple of phalluses for TNA. Number 17, Sakota. Hey, remember Jimmy Wang Yang? Of course you do! That's why he's not going to be on this countdown. He debuted in late 2003 with his tag team partner, who is on this countdown. Ryan Sakota was signed to the company in September of 2003, and 1 month later arrived on the scene with Yang, then known as Akio. The two became the muscle for then Cruiserweight champion Tajiri. It was pretty cool to see this gimmick of Tajiri being protected by what were essentially Yakuza members. Not sure if that would have gotten over in Japan where the actual Yakuza are, but that's neither here nor there. Akio and Sakota eventually went their separate ways and became Velocity's resident jobbers before Sakota was cut from the company in August of 2004. Yang wasn't too far behind on the unemployment line, but he bounced back in 06 when he debuted his lovable redneck gimmick. If only Sakota had the good business sense to put on some leather chaps, things might have gone well for him too. Well folks, that was part 1 of this special countdown. Come back tomorrow and hear about the next 8 most forgettable, ruthless aggression era wrestlers. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, comment below, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, Ruthless Radio is in effect. Dr. Dre and Yellow Boys in your system. And right about now, we got Easy E and MC Ren in the studio taking calls. So give them a call and ask them how they're doing. Hello, this is Easy E. What's your name?
Hi, this is Joyce. I'd like to know if I can have your phone number.
Yes, 976